everybody of Earth. Welcome to episode number 6 of the Lifehack Advisors Roundtable. I'm John.
I'm Steve.
Mike.
Marcus. And today we've got some questions. We did listener questions last week, but we're harkening back to some earlier episodes because that seemed popular from a download standpoint. So the first question, gentlemen, and we'll start with Stevie P. Give up to 3 life hacks, interesting facts, or other learnings you would like to share that you came across over the past week from books, podcasts, research, or otherwise. Space.
The first one I have is from one of Katie Bowman's podcasts. I think it's Katie Says is the name of her podcast. And she talked about incline walking, how it's walking on an incline is so much better for your health than just staying on flat surfaces constantly. Because we adapted to walk on uneven surfaces and different inclines, and constant flat walking actually really affects the knees and your ankles and all your tendons down there. They don't stretch like they're supposed to. So walking on inclines is like a lot more healthy in that sense. Yeah. John, have you come across that kind of information?
Yeah, and actually, I know she refers to treadmills for this one too, and pretty much how it's pointless, but just like if you go hiking, it's unreal how like just unstable your knees and ankles are. Like you don't even realize how weak your body actually is because you're so used to walking on flat, level ground at all times.
Yeah, and you use those stabilizers.
Yeah, and when teaching people how to squat, it's unreal the mobility people have in their ankles, their knees, the weakness. I mean, trying to use their adductors, it's just like, all right, guys, let's take a step back.
Also, Nassim Taleb, Unbreakable, he talks about this. He deliberately tries to do uneven ground every day.
Huh.
Go on treks because of that exact reason.
Yeah.
Makes you more unbreakable.
Anti-fragile.
Anti-fragile.
Yeah.
Nice with the correction.
So I've been incorporating that. I've been walking on treadmills at the highest incline and trying to get outside when I can.
Except for when I invite you to go nature strolls.
And the second one is that a lot of people have been sharing some articles about the Big Bang. So like there's a lot of interesting stuff coming out about that. So like a lot of the studies are saying like they can't really find the Big Bang, and one guy who conducted one of these studies, here's his quote: "The Big Bang singularity is the most serious problem of general relativity because the laws of physics appear to break down there." So they can't get to that point in terms of equations or in terms of actually conceptualizing it either. And you guys know that popular image of the boy inflating the balloon to represent the expansion of the Big Bang?
No.
So they put like dots on a balloon and someone inflates it.
Yeah.
So that's supposed to be representative of the expansion. But the problem is, who is the person doing the inflating of it? You know? So they can't find that counter force that creates the expansion of the Big Bang. Yeah.
That's Mohammed. Jesus. It was the dinosaurs.
It was the dinosaurs.
I haven't actually looked into it. I did see the headlines, but are they saying that there are proposed alternative theories, or they're not sure yet?
The only thing that I've read is people just say it's infinite. So there's not really a
Doesn't begin, doesn't end.
There's not really a concrete theory to it other than people just saying it's infinite. Sideways 8. So in my opinion, the Big Bang is just turning on the video game.
I think that's where black holes really lead to.
The power, it's hitting the power button, creating this. But we can't prove that from inside of it, so those are my 2 things.
John Boy?
Well, I touched briefly last week on one of them. I mentioned my morning pages, and that's an exercise I got from the book The Artist's Way at Work, Riding the Dragon, 12 Weeks to Creative Freedom. And that's by Mark Bryan, Julia Cameron, and Catherine Allen.
Threesome.
A threesome.
Nice.
The Holy Trinity. And anywho, it's today actually marked a week since I've been doing this exercise, and so far I've brought up some stuff that I didn't know was really bothering me. I brought up some fears. I've really just dug deep and started uncovering things that have been making life kind of smooth forward, easing myself into the next stage of leveling up. And it's been really good. And this week's challenge is to at least once a week take an hour to yourself and just do something. Whether it's go see a movie by yourself or go take a walk by yourself. Something where you can come in and actually reflect instead of creating. It's time to take information in, because you can't create all the time. You still have to be able to receive information. Then the second one I had was actually what we were talking about earlier with the breathing. I've always told my clients, to hold their breath as they go in for make a squat, take a deep breath, do the movement and exhale either after they've finished the rep or after about halfway up. And something I noticed with myself, and Elliot Hulse had a video that actually really hammered this in. He was talking about like getting headaches from working out, and I realized that I hold my breath too high up when I work out, and I'm very neurotic. And he also puts that with neurosis, and that's why I'm actually trying to talk slower and feel vibrations when I talk. But when you breathe, you want to breathe into your dantian, really low. Yeah, the lower dantian. You should almost, whenever I'm with a male client, I always tell them to breathe into their balls. And I got that from Elliot. And
so where does a woman breathe into?
Well, her ovaries, I guess, but I usually say breathe in, like where your bladder. That's where you want to all the way down. Yeah, and then you're gonna really engage your abdominal wall even better when you do that. And I've just found that since I've focused on this deeper, slower breathing, it's definitely kind of toned me back a little, which is also pretty good.
Yeah, I have a point about that too. It really helps with focus. And then the exhale as you do your concentric portion of the lift. I forgot where I learned this. It might have been Qigong, but you envision yourself like a hose, or your limbs like hoses. So as you exhale, you're expelling out of your limbs. So it creates a powerful force. Like if you're at the bottom of a squat and you exhale, it's like a jetpack blasting yourself off. So that's really helped me with my weightlifting.
I have to try that.
Yeah. All right. So I got a couple. One, this one's not super specific, but I've just become obsessed with it. I've been listening to a new podcast called Hardcore History. Have you guys heard of it?
Yeah, I listened to a couple of them.
It's amazing. I've been listening to this one about Genghis Khan and the Mongols, and it's just fascinating. Which I'm not really a history guy, but it's amazing. It's talking about how this group of people that were like these tribes just from the steppe became this like ultimate superpower by being super skillful and super barbaric and just like ultimate warriors. It's very amazing, and it's really worth a listen. So I highly recommend that. And then just some relatively recent news about how Warren Buffett made. Have you heard of his $1 million bet that he made? So he bet some hedge fund guy $1 million that over a 10-year period, the S&P 500 index funds would outperform any selection of hedge funds that he wanted.
I heard about this.
Yeah. Currently, he's like completely blowing them out of the water. The index funds are blowing the hedge funds out of the water. It's 64% to about 20%.
That's close.
That's like the Tony Robbins book, the guy that runs Vanguard.
Yeah, Bogle. Yeah.
Bogle.
Exactly.
It's just facts. Of course, the industry doesn't want to talk about it. So
right.
They can't sell you a bunch of crap.
Which is basically like invest in the market with the low fees, and you make tons more money than you pay a bunch of fees to like a hedge fund manager, and they can't really beat the market anyway.
It's like an astronomical difference over 20 years, like hundreds and hundreds of thousands if you're putting in. It's amazing.
Very interesting. So that was the other thing I figured I'd throw out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
My first is For parents out there, I came up with a life hack for getting tired children moving in the morning. It started the first morning. Parents would know this with 2-year-olds especially. They don't want to change. They don't want to do anything. And so my little guy likes excavators and bulldozers. And so I came up with the excavator kiss, where I go, I like became all these different objects to then plant a kiss. I had tons of flawless mornings. And then the other day I did a chomper kiss, so I was a T-Rex, so and then planting the kiss, and it worked like a charm, no problems. So you got to keep up in your game. And this can't extend to adults, obviously. You could try a zombie kiss on somebody. I was thinking a politician kiss, so you basically lie and talk, and there's no reaction. I was thinking a Time Warner Cable kiss. That might involve being bent over a barrel versus a kiss, but, just some thoughts. Next, James Altucher interviewed Ari Whitten, author of The Low Carb Myth. And he goes through a lot of scientific data dispelling paleo and other diets. And James Altucher is a big paleo follower of like 2.5 years. He references Asian cultures that are very carb-centric, rice, root vegetables. They live longer. They don't have the insulin issues, lower weight, on and on. I think when you dug down to what this guy, like, the book is definitely to grab attention, Low Carb Myth, because he doesn't talk about eating processed foods, which is most of, like, he would eat a lot of potatoes with coconut oil, baked, and stuff like that,
Right,
with
so it's
protein.
lower on the
Yeah.
glycemic index.
His bottom line was more whole foods.
Yeah.
And little to no processed food.
But it is fascinating podcast because they get into like the percentages that people swear by, fat, carb, he kind of dispels it. The guy's like a statue.
Well, I listened to that and I agreed with a lot of his points, but basically he was kind of just saying, in my opinion, that you can be lean and healthy while still eating carbs. But in my opinion, the ideal way to, especially with losing fat, is to go low carb.
Well, I think even the term low carb is kind of skewed.
Misnomer, yeah.
Yeah, you're getting carb. I mean, vegetables, fruit. People think carb, they think like grains, breads, You get your carbs from other sources, so it's not necessarily a low carb.
But when I say low carb, I'm talking about just not fruits.
Right, yeah, I
or
stay away from
anything
fruits
like
all the shit.
just non-starchy vegetables either.
He avoided grains as well. Like
Yeah,
funny.
Process.
Underground Wellness had a guy, I'd have to look his name up, but he just came out with a book called Diet Cults, and he was pretty much going in to say the same thing. But when Sean Croxton was, trying to dig deeper, because he has his background in functional medicine and all these other things, the guy kind of stumbled up on a few things. But in his book, he was like, yeah, you can, he's like, I eat whatever I want, I stay lean. He's like, I work out several hours a day, though. He's an endurance athlete. And his whole message was, like, you can eat whatever you want, but you have to work out. And with the whole health, if you're healthy, should you work out? Yes. But your body is going to take care of enough. You won't be, like, the slimmest looking person. I mean, our jobs, we sit all day. But you definitely would be better than, like, the 400 or 500 pound person next to you wolfing down Big Macs.
Mm-hmm. And then also, I would like to hear that guy debate John Kiefer, because Kiefer is adamant that carbs are such a stressor on the body, and you have to specifically time those stressors, and you can only tolerate a certain amount based on your activity level as well, and that's a major aspect of it, especially like your muscle contraction. So the more, if you're doing like some Maurice Pujanowski strongman training, then yeah, you can tolerate far more carbs than someone who's sedentary. So like the general population, in my opinion, should be lower carb than they are, and especially get rid of the processed foods too.
A lot of the information that's out there is old, dated information. A lot of it has people's biases to it. I mean, the nutrition book I'm reading in class goes against like even what my A&P class is telling me. You know, nutrition.
Nutrition pyramid.
Yeah, it's like 7 to
corporation.
11 servings of grains a
Yeah.
day. Like, are you kidding me? No wonder people are fat. You got all the other sugar you get from everything else.
But another good book for those interested in diving deeper, Salt, Sugar, Fat. I think that won the Pulitzer. That dives deep into how basically the large corporations, food corporations, tobacco, own Congress and the FDA and everything else.
Revolving
And
door.
Revolving door.
Well, to stem off that, the 100-year lie goes into that, but then all the synthetics and all that shit as well.
Huh. Good points. I got 2 more facts before we move on to the next question. The Declaration of Independence was written on hemp,
Mm-hmm.
and this one's a bit disturbing. 40% of McDonald's profits come from the sale of Happy Meals.
Wow.
That's
So
awful.
that means there's a lot of margin in the crap they're feeding our youth.
And that's another
Empty calories.
form of inversion. Happy Meals.
Yeah.
That Orwellian doublespeak.
Diabetes meals.
Yeah.
Liver disease.
How do you split that?
Exactly.